You know, we all operate under this assumption that we're safe, right? We lock our doors, we put our trust in the people closest to us, and we figure our private life is, well, private. But what happens when all of that turns out to be wrong? What if that feeling of security is just an illusion? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that very idea.
And that brings us to a really uncomfortable question, one we don't like to think about much. How safe are you really? In this explainer, we're going to walk through 3 true stories that expose the cracks in that foundation of safety we all take for granted.
Our first story, wow, it's about a betrayal that goes way beyond just being hurt. We're talking about trust being turned into a product, something to be bought and sold. Next up, we're going to go inside a place that was supposed to be a sanctuary, a home. But you'll see how quickly that feeling could be shattered when the threat isn't trying to get in. It's already there.
And to wrap things up, we've got a story about a threat that just won't go away. A shadow that proves that sometimes you can run, but you absolutely cannot hide.
All right, so let's dive into our first case. Picture this, a college sophomore, super smart, dreaming of law school. The people in her orbit? Well, there's Loop, her boyfriend, who seems like a total golden boy. And then there's Roar, this kind of odd, quiet teaching assistant.
So, from the outside looking in, everything seemed perfect. Luke was Mr. Popular, charming, you know the type. But she just had this nagging feeling. Something wasn't right. So one night, she checks his phone. And that's when her world just falls apart. She finds this secret stash of photos of herself, pictures she'd never even seen. But the real gut punch, he was sending them to some random unsaved number. Okay, so you can imagine the confrontation that followed. It gets so intense the police get involved. And when they trace that unsaved number, guess who it belongs to? Rower, her TA. Luke finally cracks and confesses the whole sick arrangement. Rower was paying him hundreds of dollars for those private photos. Her entire relationship, all that trust, it was just a business deal. So you'd think that would be the end of it, right? Luke's expelled, Roar gets fired. Case closed. But no. A year and a half goes by, she's moved into a new place, trying to move on, and then this silver sedan starts showing up outside, just parking there. The nightmare wasn't over. It had just changed shape. It became this silent, constant reminder. And that idea of a lingering threat, it leads us straight into our second story. This one's about a guy named Mikey. He's 22 and he's house-sitting for his parents out in the middle of nowhere in Northern California. We're talking completely isolated, surrounded by nothing but deep, dark forest. So it's the second night. He wakes up around midnight. It's dead silent, pitch black, and he just feels it, Something is off. He looks over and sees his closet door. The one he always keeps shut is wide open. His heart is just hammering in his chest. He fumbles for his phone, flicks on the flashlight, and can you even imagine? There are 2 figures standing right there at the foot of his bed, just watching him. The second that light hits them, they bolt, just vanish out of the room. So, they're gone. The house is silent again. But he's terrified, obviously. And as he's trying to process what just happened, he sees something on the floor, right where they were standing. It's a kitchen knife, one of his mom's. And that's when it hits him, like a ton of bricks. They weren't there to steal a TV. They were there for him. The police show up, they do their sweep, but there's no sign of a break-in. No smashed windows, no busted locks. So what's their big conclusion? You must have forgotten to lock the front door. But Mikey knows he locked it. He's sure of it. So now he's left with this absolutely chilling question just hanging over him. If the doors were locked, how in the world did they get inside? That feeling of being unsafe in your own home, it's at the core of our final story. Let's meet Natasha. She just got her very first solo apartment in Columbus, Ohio. She was so excited, for the privacy, the independence. But what she got instead was something else entirely. It all started small, almost dismissible. There's this guy in a gray hoodie who just seems to be around her apartment complex, a lot. Then a navy blue sedan starts parking in the lot, always with a perfect view of her window. The paranoia really kicks in when she's at her favorite Chipotle, like 15 minutes from her place, and there he is. There's no way it's a coincidence anymore. The feeling of being watched wasn't just a feeling, it was a fact. And then came the moment that changed everything. She gets home one day, and there's a note. It's been slipped under her locked door. It's handwritten, and the message is terrifyingly simple. You should really close your blinds at night. Just think about that. He wasn't just in the parking lot. He was close enough to see inside. That privacy she wanted, it was completely gone. A total illusion. So Natasha does the only thing she can think of. She breaks release, packs up, and flees to her parents' house, thinking she'll be safe there. But it doesn't matter. About a month later, she sees it, that same navy blue sedan, parked just a few blocks away. He found her. The shadow wasn't tied to her apartment, it was tied to her.
Okay, so we've heard three pretty terrifying stories: a betrayal, an invasion, and a stalker. But what do they all have in common? They're not just isolated incidents of bad things happening. They're actually showing us these modern glitches in the very idea of safety that we all rely on.
Let's actually break these glitches down. First, you've got social betrayal. The first story shows us how trust, something so personal, can literally be turned into a product and sold. It's scary. Then there's physical insecurity. Mikey's story is a brutal reminder that a locked door isn't a force field. If someone is determined, they can find a way in. And finally, and maybe this is the worst one, is the psychological erosion. Natasha's story shows how a persistent threat can just poison your mind, making you feel unsafe absolutely everywhere.
When you put it all together, these stories really force us to look at a pretty uncomfortable truth. The systems we count on, trusting people, locking our doors, even calling the police, they're not foolproof. They have cracks, they have blind spots, and that leaves us with this one final, really unsettling question to think about. If the people you know can betray you, and the walls around you can't protect you, where do you even find safety anymore?